Hi, my name's Clinton. I'm an osteopath here in Sydney.
Hi, my name's Michael. I'm a personal trainer, also here in Sydney.
And today we're going to have a quick discussion about why a fitness or outdoor fitness training location is vitally important for your long-term goals in fitness and weight loss. So Michael, what are the key elements of a good training location?
Clinton, the key elements are safety, number one, conditions, like weather conditions and so forth, and then also training variety.
Okay. What considerations are you thinking about when you're deciding on safety?
You have to consider safety. If you haven't got safe training, then you can have accidents and things. So, first of all, lighting is very important. In outdoor group training, quite often we're fitting around most people's work hours. So we've got training early in the mornings and evenings, which is fine in summer, but through winter, it gets darker. Daylight savings changes times around, so it's really important to have some good lighting. If someone's running around doing drills and other things, you need to be able to see the ground, especially if there's any undulation at all. So the best thing is to have like big overhead field lighting shining down on you. Some people use just a little bit of ambient street lighting, but like say if you're doing boxing with focus pads, if you haven't got good lighting, and someone's hands are moving really fast, you just can't see, so it's not safe. So that's one consideration. Another is obviously things like pollution. If you've got a training location that's close to a road, and you've got cars going past all the time, then you've got pollution there. And if you're doing cardio training and everyone's huffing and puffing, you don't want them to be sucking in some of those emissions. So it's great if you've got a location that's away from traffic, but outdoors, trees all around you, you've got great fresh oxygen. And if someone in the class might be just a tiny bit sick and they've still come along, if you're outside and you're away from everything else, then it's less likely than if you're pumping that, being recycled through an air conditioning, like on an indoor training session.
Sure.
The other things with safety are things like other park users. So you might have dog walkers that are coming through the park. You want a location where you're not going to have a lot of that. Especially not an off-leash park.
Yep.
An on-leash park, not so much of a problem. Then you've got things like sports fields. If you've got other people using the fields, whether they're a soccer player kicking the balls around, football players, where you set up your location, you don't want it to be too close to other sports.
Yep.
And apart from that, especially if you're moving around, if you're doing outdoor group training and you're kind of moving from spot to spot in a mobile class, or if you're doing like a cardio session, you're out for a run, you need to be able to consider traffic. So a really good outdoor group training location, you need a spot where you can transit to running tracks and other things in the area, but you can do it safely. You don't want to be crossing major roads all the time, or if you do, you need to have considerations there to be able to control those measures.
So for weather conditions, are you just talking about rain?
No. For the weather conditions, no, I'm not just talking about rain. Obviously, yes, you do need to have that as consideration. If it's doing sprinkling or heavy rain or it's a massive downpour, you need to have somewhere where you can go. If you're doing outdoor group training and it's raining, some people, hardcore members, they're just going to come along and they'll train regardless, which is great. But a lot of people, if it's raining, they just want to stay inside. And if people are just staying inside and they're not getting off the couch and doing their exercise, then they're not achieving their goals. You need to have your training on running all the time. If a client's going to commit to me that that they're going to train and to improve,
yep,
I need to commit to them. So look, the training is always going to be on.
Yep.
Just turn up regardless as to what the weather's doing, and we're going to be able to work on achieving your goals.
Sure.
So if you can have a wet weather facility of some sort. Some people have like their training location and they have another off-site wet weather facility. That can work. That you need to kind of notify people if it's because you're not sure if it's going to rain or if it is going to rain. People are a little bit uncertain as to where it's going to be. The best and ideal thing is to have your training location and have like at the same spot have somewhere where you can go undercover or inside.
Yep.
The spot that I train at. It's a large sports field, and the clubhouse there, I've got a relationship with the club. So if it's just sprinkling, I can pop in underneath the veranda, we can do some training, stop sprinkling, we can get back out, and we stay outdoors. and the clients are there because they love training outdoors.
Yeah.
If it's torrential or rainfall or really bad conditions, then we can go inside and the training's still on. But it's always at the same location, so there's never any hesitation in the client's mind. It's always on.
Excellent.
The other considerations are things like heat. If you're training all year round, you're going to have some heat through summer, and then you're also going to have the cool through winter. Sometimes you need to change your training around that. Like you're not going to do a 10 o'clock cardio session doing hill sprints in the peak of summer because it's just going to be too hot.
Yeah.
It is good if you can to do some training. If you're going to have any midday sessions near a water source of some sort, you might be able to do a session where you've got some in the pool, some on the land, some in the pool, some on the land, or going in and out of the ocean, just to make things a little bit more comfortable, or so people have got the chance to cool down. If you haven't got some water nearby, it's great if you've got some shade of some sort, so you've got your training location, you can move around a couple of different points. But you've also got spots that are in the shade. Having a spot in the shade, you can get in there and you can still be working. You might change the training a little bit and have so people aren't getting quite as hot, and just moderating clothing. These days you also have to think about UV exposure. If you're doing anything midday-ish, it's great if you can provide some sunscreen so that people as a OHS measure. In winter you need to move the clients around a little bit just to keep them warmer. Like even in a toning class, sometimes you need to do a little bit of cardio, do an exercise, do a little bit of cardio, do an exercise, and they need to be dressed appropriately. If you've got a new client coming along, you need to set them up for that. One of the other major considerations is your exposure to the wind. It's really important. If you've got coastal training location, a little bit of wind's not a drama. But if it's misting and then you got a lot of wind as well, it makes it really unpleasant. If you've got footballs or something like that, and it's windy, then they're going to move around because you're doing outdoor training. So depending on what kind of training you're doing, you need to consider the wind. If you've got a slightly inland location, that's great because it's a little bit more protected, and you're not going to have that same kind of drama for the.
So what are the common things you're looking for to help improve training variety?
Okay, training variety is really important to keep the interest up and to be able to change it so you're working lots of different muscle groups. Some of the things that help improve your training variety if you're doing outdoor group work is if you've got some logs that are around the park, using benches. That's great if you've got some hills and stairs, if you've got some running tracks close by, things like that. You may even have, in the park that you're using, you might even have a mini gym with chin-up bars and dip bars and things like that. If you've got things of varying different heights, tying equipment onto, it helps with the training variety. If you can keep more variety there, then the clients stay more interested. If they stay interested, you can work them out over a longer period of time. If you get them working out for long enough, then they're going to start achieving some of those goals. If they start to feel that change, then it's easy to keep them going.
And finally, what are some of the great locations in the Manly area that you believe are great and ideal for outdoor fitness training?
Okay. In Manly, if someone wants just a nice scenic location, then you can get down the beachfront and that can be great. If you're thinking about all the considerations I've run through this morning, it starts to limit the amount of locations that you can go to. I run one over at North Manly at Northern Reserve, which is why I've got all those things, with the lighting, the wet weather venue, protected from the wind. We've still got all the extra training aids, things like the logs and hills and stairs. It's an ideal spot to do some training.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem. Have a great day.